Hi everybody, Healthy Prepper here. I'd like to go over some medications and different items that might be a good idea to have on hand after you've got your food stores well underway. These are things that can just make life a whole lot easier as you go if you're in any type of apocalyptic pinch. I'm going to review for you the actual items that I've decided to purchase for me and my family. This will, of course, will depend on you and your family and what different needs you may have. I'll go over these individually and also share with you where I got them to save some money along the way. Lots of folks do coupon. I think that's a very wise idea. I have yet to master that skill, so I need to work on it. But what I have chosen to do is basically buy from the local dollar store, or we have a Bent and Dent store, and we also have some warehouses in the area that buy broken boxes of items from BJ's and Costco and things like that. So I'll go and scan those every once in a while, see what they've got to offer, and pick up a few things every now and then. Or if I'm in the dollar store picking up something else, I'll pick up a couple of items to go. So let's start with skincare first, because skincare is very, very important. I would say probably the most important thing to have is some type of disinfectant for your skin. The primary one would be hydrogen peroxide. If I couldn't afford to buy anything else, I would buy hydrogen peroxide. You can use very small amounts. It's very effective. You can apply it with a Q-tip, and what I recommend is that you pour a little bit into the cap, put your clean Q-tip into the cap, and then apply to the wound or site. And then you can pour what's left in the cap back into the bottle to save it, because it should still be relatively clean because you haven't touched a wound with it. The second thing I would definitely have on hand would be triple antibiotic ointment. I got this at the dollar store. You can get some decent sized tubes. If you try and buy this stuff in the regular store, it's quite expensive, so I would recommend trying to find different sources. I just scoped them all out and looked at the pricing. The Dollar Tree, Family Dollar we have around here. And then I would move on to other ointments that you might need for the skin, like hydrocortisone cream. This is great for itches, rashes, bug bites that might irritate you or your children. Something good to have on hand. The next thing, if we're in an apocalyptic pinch and let's say the air conditioning is not working, or people are outdoors working a lot more, sweating, skin's going to become infected with fungus much more easily. So you might want to have some athlete's foot cream or powders on hand. I got some tolnaftate here. You can buy this in the dollar store. Basically, it's good for jock itch, things like that. Ladies, don't forget to have some yeast cream on hand. You can also get that at the dollar store. Another important thing to have is going to be petroleum jelly. 1,001 uses, but definitely important to have. So keep that on hand. They have another product. Yes, you can also get this at the dollar store. It's called Liquid Skin. It's great for cuts and abrasions and things like that. So something else to consider. Just moving along here, you can never have too much of this medicated body powder. This is really going to help keep people feel comfortable and keep fungal infections away. You can put this in your shoes, in your underwear, basically under your arms, but this is definitely going to be important to have on hand. Always have lots of vinyl or latex gloves, whichever one you're comfortable using, but these, when you're going to be dealing with skin infections or anything where you want to keep the items you're working with clean, and then you can throw these away afterwards. So definitely stock up on as many of those as you can get your hands on. Let's take a look at a common thing that happens to people during different seasons, and that's colds, coughs, flus, things like that. The items that I've chosen to get are these. First, I've got some basic allergy relief pills, and I got some sinus and congestion pills. They work a little bit differently. This one turns off the faucet in your nose, and this one breaks down some of the congestion that's there so you can breathe easier. Also, this is good if anybody has a mild allergic reaction, you can give them allergy medication. You can either do that by pill form, but if they're really having an allergic reaction and you're in an SHTF situation, I would recommend using allergy liquid instead. This is liquid Benadryl, basically, the generic version. And you can get this over the counter at any dollar store. I would definitely have some of that on hand. It's better than nothing if you're not able to get regular medical care. So watch for things like that. And then some, these are basically like generic NyQuil capsules, can certainly take the edge off a bad cold if you're still having to have the entire family work and you need their energy and efforts to save the day. Some other important things that we like to have around so people can breathe at night if they have a horrible cold are the nasal sprays. Definitely can make a difference in comfort and quality of sleep. I would also recommend to have just some pure saline nasal moisturizer. This is actually very good to use to clear out mucus, and if anybody gets a sinus infection, to keep flushing the nasal passages with pure saline water, because that can really help get rid of the infection much faster. Sinus infections tend to last and hang around a long time because it's a very hard place for the antibiotics to get to through the bone. There's not a lot of blood vessels going into the sinuses, so it takes a long time for this area to clear an infection. Here's something you might want to consider. It's called a neti pot. It looks like a tiny teapot, and basically you fill it with saline water, and you insert the little tip of the teapot into one nose hole, and you tilt your head sideways, and basically you keep your nose pointed down, and as it pours in, it will run to the back of your nose and turn the corner and come back out and flush the other side of your nose too. And you can do both sides. This will help clear out any infections or congestion as well. It's an age-old strategy. One thing we're big believers in are zinc lozenges to help reduce the length of a cold. So these things can be really expensive in the regular store if you buy the brand, but I did happen to find some in the dollar store. I was very excited about that. So I stocked up and got as many as I could afford that day. And also, just some regular Halls for comfort. Our Halls like lozenges are good to have on hand. Keep people comfortable and functioning. Here's more coldies in a different version. This was great. I got 24 of these for $3.50, and I got all these orange stickered things at Big Lots, so if you see any of those, that's where I got those. The next category I'd like to talk to you about is pain control, and this is non-narcotic pain control. It's a very good idea to have some version of pain control or some form of it on hand at home, so in case of an apocalyptic pinch again, that you do have a way to help manage that pain. My family's medication of choice is going to be Advil or the ibuprofen category, and this is how much ibuprofen I have on hand right now. And it's a very good anti-inflammatory as well as pain reducer. It's a good fever reducer as well, so something to think about. Obviously, if you have children, you're going to have to watch dosages and things like that for children, or if they're allowed to have it at all, double check on that. The next thing I would definitely have on hand would be aspirin. Just good plain old aspirin. It's a great pain reliever. It's been used for centuries. You do have to be careful of people who have tender stomachs or ulcers or things like that, but it's also got another nice thing that if, let's say you're at home and it's an SHTF apocalyptic situation, there's no medical care, and you think somebody's having a heart attack, well, the first thing you want to give them is an aspirin. You tell them, put it in their mouth and tell them to chew it up and swallow it, and that may in fact save their life. So you definitely want to have aspirin on hand. I also got some of the low-dose aspirin, just to have that on hand. This is all regular strength, all bought at the dollar store. And here, Tylenol is, this is the generic version of Tylenol, but here is Tylenol, and it's good to have some of that on hand as well. It's a good idea to learn how, if somebody's in a painful situation, how you can circulate Tylenol and Advil with the doses, so you don't allow either of them to become toxic to the kidney or the liver. I'll explain that more later. Here's another, okay, so that's it for non-narcotic pain management at home. I think everybody should have a supply of this. Now, remember, we're going to have to take into account that all medication does have an expiration date on it, but we're also talking here about a situation where there may be nothing left in the stores and no new supply coming. So it's better to have on hand than not have on hand. That's my personal opinion. Always do what you see makes fit for your family, what makes most sense for your family. Definitely do that. And the next thing I'd like to talk about is vitamins. It's a good idea to have some vitamins on hand. So I picked up a bunch of vitamins at the local dollar store. You can get these big bottles, 130 tablets, and I got a whole bunch of those. I mostly went for the complete ones just because they cover everything, and we don't know what the quality of our food will be, so we just want to make sure we're covering all the bases. And I forgot to mention also, it's a good idea to have on hand some generic version of Vicks Vapo Rub that can really help comfort with chest colds and sinus infections, things like that. Good to have on hand. Another good thing to get at the dollar store is guaifenesin, which is breaks up thick mucus, especially in the chest. If anybody has a chest cold, guaifenesin can liquefy that mucus and it's more easily coughed out. Definitely good to have on hand. Can also be very expensive at the regular store. So try checking out your dollar stores for that. Okay, let's move on to the tummy. Here's a few stomach remedies that I think are good to have on hand. And what I've covered here are antidiarrheals, laxatives, and generic version of Pepto-Bismol. And you may want to also layer in some, like if somebody has a lot of heartburn, gastroesophageal reflux disease, GERD, symptoms, burping, belching, you may want to consider layering in more Pepcid or Prilosec or some of those types of medications. But we don't have a huge problem with that here, so we're going with this. But I strongly want to recommend that you get antidiarrheals on board, just because if, we don't know what the quality of our water will be, and even if the family doesn't normally have a problem with that, you can become dehydrated very quickly if you're not able to retain fluid. If you lose it through diarrhea, you could die very quickly. So something to consider. Most normal food poisoning diarrheas are 24 to 48 hours, and they're self-resolving. They'll go away on their own. But if it lasts longer than that, in a perfect world, we would find out exactly what organism is causing the problem and then give you the antibiotic to treat it. But this may not necessarily be the case in that situation. So in order to save a life, you may want to stop the diarrhea from occurring, and then do it, if you have antibiotics on hand, you may want to try some and see which ones might help. And if you don't, you may be able to layer some different gut anti-infection food, which may help. So we can talk about that a little bit more in detail on another video. But small amount of laxatives in case of any problems there. You definitely don't want to overuse any of that stuff, but in case of a pinch. And you've then got the Pepto-Bismol. Okay. Now, excuse for the move here. Okay. Now, a couple other items. Let's go to mouth or oral care. Obviously a good idea to have some toothpaste on hand. And this you can definitely get at the dollar store. I mean, this stuff is very inexpensive there. I've seen it for 80, 90 cents for a big tube. You can probably do even better than that with couponing and such. So whenever I see a good deal, I try and buy a box or two and just keep adding it to the store. I picked up some extra toothbrushes because if you're using electric toothbrushes or any of those other fancy mouth cleaning devices, those may not work during times of a pinch, so make sure you have extra toothbrushes on hand. Another good thing to have is dental floss. you definitely don't want to be dealing with any kind of tooth infections or gum infections during a tough time. So the cleaner you can keep your mouth, the better. If there is no dentist, you want to do anything to avoid having to have any kind of mouth infection. So be flossing, and let's face it, floss itself is a very strong string, and you can use this for so many different things. You know, you can even use it for fishing line or tying plants up, or it has 1,001 uses. So make sure you get a nice little stock of floss. Another important thing, if let's say you do get a little infection going in the mouth and you've got some pain, it's causing somebody a problem, get some oral analgesics. This is a good idea. It's the gel that you put in your mouth so that you can put it on the gum tissue or the tooth if you're having pain. It's not the strongest stuff in the world, but it definitely will take off an edge, and something is better than nothing. Then I would certainly pursue better oral care, cleaning, flossing, and you know, if you do have any antibiotics, you might need to take some in order to get rid of an abscess or an infection. The best thing is to get as much of your dentistry handled now in case something happens, because you certainly don't want to be there, you know, having a toothache or you know, needing a root canal if we're in a bad situation. It's a good idea to get some old disinfecting mouthwash too, although I think that I didn't buy that much of this because I think I can make my own with you know, saline water, salt water, and a little bit of alcohol and a little bit of hydrogen peroxide. So sometimes if you have good basics in stock, you can make a lot of this stuff yourself. So that's oral care. Some other things that I've purchased just to have: bug control. This is going to be a big problem once the bugs start marching in, and if you live in a warm climate, it's going to be a definite problem. So you want to protect your food supplies, you want to protect your sleeping and eating environments. One nice, it's a nice, relatively low toxicity roach killer is boric acid, which is very gentle to humans. We can even use it as an eye wash in some cases to humans, but it blocks the little breathing apparatus of the roaches on the sides of their body. It clogs them and they cannot breathe. So basically they end up dehydrating and they die. So that is one good thing to know. You always like to have a little bit of good old Raid on hand just in case for critters. But let's face it, that's only going to last as long as the cans last, and then we're trying to figure something out. An old remedy that I have seen work are cucumber peels. You can put these around the outside of your house and it will help repel ants and insects. That's of course depending on how many cucumbers you might have, but you may be growing some in your garden, so that might help. And then some stock generic disinfecting solution that you can use in your house. This is just an all-purpose cleaner I got at the dollar store. It seems to work really well on many different things, and you know, removes blood, grease, wine, liquor, gum, oil, glue, coffee, pet stains, inks, fresh paint, varnish, hair dye, food stains, grape juice, berry juice, and many more. So, and you dilute it before you use. So this is a concentrated bottle. So something like that, so you can swab the decks. You really want to keep your food surfaces, your kitchen counters, your you know, things like that spotlessly clean, because when there's not a lot of water around, we have to be very conscientious about how we clean our environment. So definitely have some cleaners on hand. And then over here, I just wanted to show you a few other things. Okay, in the old cupboard here. All right, it's very important also have some sunblock, because if you're working outside, working in the garden, chopping down wood, doing things like that, it's very important to keep your skin protected. So that's something to definitely have. Along with that, it's a good idea to have lip balm. Lips can get chapped and dry and crack, and they can become very uncomfortable. So, excuse me, get plenty of lip balm. Then it's important to have eye flush. Things get in the eye when people are working and chopping and cleaning. So get yourself some saline solution for the eyes. I found some at a discount store. And then stock that up. It's a good thing to have. You can also make your own. There's different ways to do that. You can see some examples of how to make it on the internet. Get yourself, or I recommend to get some Epsom salt. This is very good to soak sore, tired, achy bones. If you have any irritation around your bottom, if you can soak in a warm Epsom salt bath, that's a good thing. So always keep some Epsom salts on hand. I also think it's a good idea to have some wet wipes. You can get the bigger packs or these mini packs I just found, so they were on sale, so I got a bunch of them. Here's my bunch. It's a good idea because you just need to stay clean. Cleanliness is going to be so important. So it's going to be vital to come up with a plan on how to keep hands clean, bodies clean, counters clean, food clean, and so on. So here's my supply of hydrogen peroxide. It's very inexpensive. I think you can buy it for 50 cents at the dollar store. So definitely get a big supply of that. You can never have too much of that. It's also one of those things that has 1,001 uses. And so please, please, please get your supply of hydrogen peroxide. If you get anything else, definitely get that. My husband's request, lots of shaving cream, and I found a good deal on these. They were 80 cents at the dollar store, so I just bought them all, and that should keep him happy for a while. Okay, of course, along with that, you're going to also have to have a bunch of razors, something to think about. Now, what else have I got back here? Oh, yeah. Shampoo. You might want to get yourself some inexpensive shampoo. Here I got some Suave. Came with a little conditioner. They had a good sale on it. So I just bought a bunch of those and stocked them up in here. I also have this, oh, can't see back there. Okay, so pull it out. Rubbing alcohol, very important to have. Disinfectant. It also can be used as a cleaner. So definitely have some rubbing alcohol on hand. Okay. You definitely want to have some tampons on hand. They have multiple uses, for the obvious reason for females, but they can also be used as bandages in a sense. If somebody has a nosebleed, you can use a tampon to help stop the nosebleed if placed correctly in the nose. And you're going to want to have soap of different sizes and types. So if you see good deals on soap, that's going to be important to stock up on too. Okay. So the last area I'd like to go over today is just some extra things. They're not medications, but they're good to have on hand. And I just pulled them out here. And you may or may not have a bug out bag. They may be good for that, or you just may want to have them at the house as well to have some backup. But a couple waterproof bags. You can get these at camping stores or Sports Authority or Dick's sports stores, things like that. Definitely have a good supply of some way to keep your water clean. And these are the old iodine pills. They had a sale on those, and I bought a bunch of those. Have some LED light headlamps in case you're working in the dark. Nail clippers. It's always a good idea to have a few extra of these because these can actually work as tools. You can clip off the ends of things, fishing hooks, things like that. I mean, they're very versatile, so I always have a few extra of those on hand. Some DEET, some bug spray. This is critical to have because, again, we won't be having the mosquito control around as we normally would, so it's a good idea to have some bug spray. This is fire starter, even works when wet. I thought that was an interesting item, so I thought I'd give that a purchase. I believe I bought that online. hooded poncho, very thin, just a plastic thing, so that if I ever have to work outside, I don't get wet, I don't risk getting infected or anything like that from getting too wet or moist. And a whistle with a compass on it, just a nice item to have in case of danger or trouble. You can signal somebody quickly. Also a good idea to have extra rope on hand. You can get this at the dollar store. You can use that for many things. You know, putting up tents or tarps or coverings. Just, again, 1,001 uses for rope. This is a nice little emergency package. It's got a compass and emergency blanket and a fire starter and a plastic poncho. And this is just a good thing either to toss in your car or put in your bug-out bag. Just something for some emergencies. Another good thing to have are hot hands warmers. This can make the difference between making it and not making it if you got into a cold situation. It's also going to make working in the cold a little bit easier. So if you're having to go out and gather or chop wood or do things in the cold, hot hand warmers. You can also stick those in your boots or shoes to keep the feet warm. Here are some waterproof matches. I believe I got these online. Good thing to have in case you're out in the elements and you absolutely need to make a fire, which is going to be one of the first things you need to do. If you're in a cold environment or need to stay warm, or you need to make food. And then lastly here, I have my bucket of batteries and lighters. I have all sorts of different kinds of batteries, from rechargeable batteries to lithium batteries, big double Ds, the little type A's, little triple A's, and then the lighters. I got some of these long lighters for fire starting and things like that. They're always handy to have. If you see any of these big packs of inexpensive regular lighters, you can never have too many lighters. Could be the difference between staying warm and not staying warm. So there you go, folks. Those are just a few of the items that I have. I thought I'd give you a little tour. I hope it gives you some ideas, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on the matter. Take care, everyone. Happy Prepper.